So you've decided you want to buy a Tesla Model 3. Maybe you've made every decision, you know exactly what car you want and just want some last minute tips, or you're completely new to the whole Tesla buying experience. Whether you fall into either of those categories, there's something in this video for you, but if you want to skip around, I've got links down in the description of the different topics I'm going to cover today if you do want to skip around. So first off, you need to choose which trim of the Model 3 you want, and currently there are 3 offerings there. There's the Standard Plus, there is the Long Range, and the Performance. If you're looking for a more budget-friendly option, then the Standard Plus is definitely for you. It still gives you a rated range of 250 miles, but the starting price is just under $38,000. That lower price does come with a few sacrifices though. First off, the charging rate is actually limited to 170 kilowatts, which means charging can be slower sometimes. The sound system also has some speakers disabled, and you have no subwoofer in the back like the other Model 3s do. The premium connectivity is also on a 30-day trial versus a year membership with the other Model 3s, but you can pay $10 a month after that if you want to keep those features. So given all of that, I would definitely recommend this to anyone that does most of their driving around town and isn't worried about all of the premium features that some of the other Model 3s come with. If you want the most performance, obviously the performance trim is for you. 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds is just insane and not necessary for daily driving, but that's probably not why you bought this car. You bought it for the performance. Rated range is also bumped up to 299 miles, and you also get all of the premium features that are missing from that Standard Plus option. And it also includes the 20-inch gray performance wheels, performance brakes, a carbon fiber spoiler, a lowered suspension, aluminum alloy pedals, increased top speed from 145 miles per hour to 162 miles per hour, and track mode. All of those extras do come with a price premium though, with a starting price of just under $55,000. So I definitely recommend this to anyone that is looking for the performance side of the car and isn't as worried about the total cost. And if you want something that's kind of in the middle of those two, then the Long Range is for you. You get all of the premium features, but you don't get quite the insane performance that comes in the Performance Model 3. This also has the longest range available on a Tesla Model 3 right now at 322 miles and a starting price of just under $47,000. I definitely recommend this for most people because it does give you the most range right now, and it doesn't have that high upfront cost like the Performance model. And this is actually the model I ended up choosing because I do think it is a good balance of both. Obviously, next here is to choose which options you want. And compared to other cars, you really don't get that many right now. You can choose from 5 colors. White is the base color right now. Gray, blue, and black are a $1,000 upgrade, and red is a $2,000 upgrade. You can also choose from the Aero wheels or the Sport wheels for an additional $1,000, but keep in mind if you go with the Aero wheels, you can actually pop those covers off and reveal a pretty good looking rim underneath. I just took these off recently on my car, and I think they look way more aggressive and a lot cooler than the stock Aero wheels do. In terms of self-driving features, autopilot is now included on all Teslas, so you don't have to worry about paying extra for that. But if you do want to opt for the full self-driving option, it is currently $7,000. It's set to upgrade to $8,000 starting on July 1st, so keep that in mind. There's obviously a lot to discuss about full self-driving and whether or not that is worth it. So I made a whole video breaking that down. If you want to check it out, I'll have it linked down below as well as in the top right. So after you've picked out all the options and which specific Model 3 you want, you're going to have to figure out how you're going to pay for the car. This will obviously go hand in hand with which options and trim you choose. So you'll need to balance your budget along with the features and stuff you want in your car. My basic recommendation here is just buy as much range as you can afford. Most software stuff can get upgraded later, so if you're deciding between upgrading to something like full self-driving or getting a higher trim car, I would definitely go with the better hardware right now versus paying extra money for software. So with that being said, Tesla currently gives you 3 different options for financing the car. You can either pay cash up front if you're an absolute baller, you can finance the car through a regular car loan, or you can also lease the car. Obviously, if you pay in cash, you're going to pay that sticker price that you see when you spec out your car, along with a $1,200 destination and documentation fee, as well as any applicable taxes in your area. So if we use my car as an example, that original cash price was $48,990. When they added that $1,200 destination and dock fee, my subtotal was $50,190. If you add on that 7.5% tax rate for the state of Ohio, which is an additional $3,764.26, that brings my total amount due at delivery to $53,973 plus 76 cents. I didn't have $53,000 just sitting around when I went to buy my car, so I ended up financing it. So once you order your car, if you decide to go through financing with Tesla, you'll have to do a credit check through them. Once that is approved, you can then get access to how much you want to put down on the car, and you can kind of adjust your down payment, which will then in turn adjust your monthly payment. So in my case, I put down enough to cover the taxes as well as that destination and dock fee, as well as a little bit extra, just so my monthly payments aren't incredibly high. I've had a lot of people ask me about like, how much do you pay just to pick up the car or actually take delivery of it? And I don't want to break all that down in this video because it would get really long, but if you want to make a whole separate video, drop a like on this video and I will definitely make that happen. You can also lease your car from Tesla, which is different from the other two options because after your lease term is up, you have to give your car back to Tesla. This is essentially like renting a car for a few years, so if you don't want to keep the Tesla after driving it for a few years, then this is the option for you. But again, you're going to spend a decent chunk of money paying to just drive this car for those few years, and you do have to give it back to Tesla when you're done. And you don't even get the option to keep it. With the Model S and X, they do sometimes give you the option to buy out the rest of your lease, but they are not doing that with the Model 3, so you will have to return it after you've completed your whole lease term. So next up here is insurance, which is a very difficult one to talk about because it just varies so much with every person, and depending on your situation or what kind of coverage you have, this can vary a ton. But this is definitely something you need to have figured out before you take delivery of your car. Tesla cars are very safe, which can make them cheaper to insure, but they're also very expensive relatively to other cars, so that can make them expensive to insure. So it really depends on the person, and I can't really speak on everybody's situation, but I'd encourage you to shop around and look at different insurance companies to see who gives you the best rate and the best coverage for your situation. In my case, switching my insurance from my old car to my Tesla was about the same rate, but again, this can vary a ton from person to person. So if you've made it this far, you've probably figured everything else out, and it is now time to talk about charging. And right now, I don't recommend an electric vehicle to anyone unless they have access to charging on a daily basis. For me, it is at work, where my office has like over a dozen EV chargers set up, so I plug in there basically every day I'm at the office. I'm working from home right now, so that's been a little difficult and can definitely be inconvenient. And this is exactly the reason why I don't recommend an EV to people if they don't have access to charging. I live in an apartment. I don't have a place to plug in my car on a daily basis right now, and it's gotten a little bit difficult. Not impossible, obviously, but inconvenient at times. So the ideal setup right now, in my personal opinion, is to get a home charger installed either in your garage or on the side of your house where you can plug your car in every day. Tesla does sell their own for $500, but that does not include installation, so you'll have to pay for that as well, and that is a little on the steep side compared to some other EV chargers. There's a lot of local companies that are selling EV chargers, either from ChargePoint or other companies, and will install them as well. So I definitely start shopping around if you've already ordered your car to see which companies can do an EV charging install. This can be something basic like just installing a dryer outlet to a full-blown EV charger. So kind of look at the two options and decide what is best for your budget and your situation. So one thing I haven't seen a lot of people mention in their videos that are a lot like this is how close they are to a Tesla location. When you are ready to take delivery of your car, you will have to drive to one of these locations to actually pick your car up. Tesla's current policy is if you live within 220 miles of one of their locations, then you have to drive to pick your car up. If you live outside of that bubble, then Tesla will actually ship the car to your house and do the delivery for you there. And this is really cool, but it is not so cool when you have to get service done on your vehicle. Tesla does have a whole mobile service team that is continuing to expand and do like 80% of repairs at the car's location, but they still don't cover the entire United States. If it's a regular car issue like brakes or you've got some minor body work to get done, most local places can handle that. But if it's anything that is Tesla specific, you might be stuck with a very long drive to get that fixed. This issue is definitely more of a unique case, but if you are looking at buying a Tesla and aren't close to a Tesla location, then that's definitely something to consider. I'm fortunate enough to live within that mobile service bubble, so if I do need any repairs, the mobile service tech can come out to my home or office and get any work done there. But if I do need a more major repair or something more intense looked at, then I can take it into the service center, which is like 15 minutes from my house. Luckily, I've only had to have one minor repair on my car. I just had some interior trim fixed, and they were able to come out to my office and get it all worked out from there. Next up is battery care, which is something that you're probably going to realize after you take delivery of the vehicle, but it's also important to know ahead of time as well. The battery is the largest and most expensive part of these vehicles, so it is important to make sure you are taking proper care of it. This isn't too difficult and definitely way easier than trying to keep up with maintenance on a gas car, and if you just remember these two things, you can make it very simple. Number one is to leave your car plugged in when you aren't driving it. I mentioned this in my last video, but Tesla actually recommends keeping your car plugged in while you aren't driving it. The car's computer will turn charging on and off as needed to keep your car charged and at an optimal level for long-term battery health. And again, this is another reason why I think you want to have access to charging on a daily basis so you can leave your car plugged in. Not only does it keep you at a higher battery level at a more consistent basis, but it also takes better care of the battery. And that kind of leads into the second part, which is to never charge above 90% unless you are about to immediately drive. In a majority of cases, you won't need 100% of your range anyway, but it is not good for the battery to keep it above 90% on a consistent basis. Tesla has said repeatedly charging to 90% is completely fine and actually good for the battery, so that number is the winner there. And our last point here is that everything affects your range. One thing that came as a bit of a shock to me is just how much the weather, the environment, your driving style, literally everything about driving that you can think of can affect your range. So my rated range is 322 miles, but if I drive really aggressively or there's a ton of wind or it's raining or I have the air conditioning on, all of that could lower my range a lot. I've heard a lot of people talk about how cold weather really affects their range, but nothing has affected my range more than when it has been really windy or there's been a ton of rain that I've been trying to drive through. I think this has to do with how aerodynamic the car is. Any kind of thing that affects the aerodynamics of the car can really affect the range. So knowing that, I definitely suggest keeping a decent range buffer if you are going to take longer trips in your Model 3, but also if you have an opportunity to charge, then do it. A classic example for me is when I drive from Columbus, Ohio to Indianapolis. This is like a 200-mile drive. I should definitely be able to make it in one charge, but there's also 2 supercharging stops along the highway from Columbus to Indianapolis, so I might as well stop and charge. Not only can I get out and stretch my legs for a little bit on that 3-hour car drive, but I can also add that little extra battery buffer so that I can make it to my destination without worry. This also helps when you actually arrive at your destination. I'm typically driving to my parents' house and they do not have an EV charger there, so I plug into a 120 volt outlet and it takes forever to charge, so having a little bit of battery when I actually get there helps a lot as well. So I've owned my Model 3 for about 7 months now, and those are a lot of things that I would have liked to know ahead of time before delivery, but if I missed anything here or you have any other questions, definitely let me know down in the comments. And if you want to see more videos about my Model 3, I've got a whole channel full of videos about Tesla, the Model 3, electric vehicles, all kinds of fun stuff, so definitely check that out as well. And if you like the content I'm putting out, definitely consider subscribing as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.